A budding new business opened in the Northland today on this 420. Its owners are hoping to help people learn more about the products they sell. But as Northern News Now's Rob Coles explains, new legislation could force this brand new business to adapt.
Sunset Sorbet is a good one to sit on the lakeside at night, watch the sun fall down around the horizon.
Hearing Nick Montanari talk about the product he sells, you could think he owns an ice cream or candy shop.
We've also got cotton candy, which is already a favorite here.
But he owns Salute Dispensary in Cloquet, a new store that sells items containing hemp-derived THC and CBD. Those are all flavors of gummies. Montanari and his business partners held a grand opening event Thursday, cutting a green ribbon to officially welcome customers.
We just wanted to start a new business somewhere where we don't see businesses like this and just kind of bring education to the community around us.
Salute is one of the many Minnesota businesses now possible due to a law change that took effect last summer. It allows people to purchase edibles and drinks with up to 5 milligrams of hemp-derived THC. According to Montanari, his inventory is regulated to protect his customers.
And, you know, it's just more trustworthy. You can come in, feel comfortable what you're purchasing, know that it's been tested thoroughly.
Customers like Cloquet resident Tyler Blodgett, she's glad there's a place to purchase THC nearby.
I'm really happy that it's almost like down the road to me.
Manager Cassandra Metro will be working the register helping customers, but she's also used hemp-based products in the past.
The sports rub that I use every day helps wonderfully with my arthritis and my back pain.
This year, new legislation that would make marijuana legal in the near future could bring change to this already new business. Montanari says they plan to add that to their inventory if the bill goes through.
Yeah, we definitely want to be prepared for that day of, you know, the whole legalization process.
A new business entering a rapidly changing industry in the Northland. In Cloquet, Rob Coles, Northern News Now.
According to store leaders, one of the reasons they chose their location in Cloquet is because they're also partial owners of that building. They say despite recent law changes, many landlords are still wary of renting store space to THC dispensaries.